Hey guys, this is Mrs. Harbin, and this is Algebra 1, Section 1.4 presentation. Our biblical integration for the day is this. The ways of God are not naturally understood by man, but He gives us tools to examine them in an orderly and organized way. And that's what we want to do with math. We don't want to just learn these math rules just so that we know math rules. We want to be able to use them so that we can examine the world around us. We can help restore creation to the way that it was intended to be and offer hope to other people. Our objective for today is this. You, the student, will use subtraction with integers and rational numbers. So let's look at some definitions. Subtraction is defined as adding the opposite. Adding the opposite. And maybe you've never heard that before. But 5 minus 3 is the same thing as 5 plus the opposite of 3, which is negative 3. For any real numbers a and b, a minus b is the same thing as a plus negative b. Let's put some numbers with that really quickly. I already said 5 minus 3. That's the same thing as 5 plus the opposite of 3, which is negative 3. All right, keep that in mind as we go through some subtraction problems. The number being subtracted from is called the minuend. The number being subtracted is called the subtrahend. So in our 5 minus 3 problem, 5 is the minuend and 3 is the subtrahend. The answer is called the difference. And if we were to put those on a number line, I'll draw a number line really quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's 5 and here's 3. We can see that the difference, or the amount of space between those two, is 2 spots. So the difference is 2. Let's take a look at some examples. 4 minus negative 2. Remember, we said subtraction is just the opposite. So we could say 4 plus the opposite of negative 2, which is 2. And we know that 4 plus 2 is 6. Let's take a look at another example here. I'll erase my mark so you can see it there. Negative 3 minus 2. Let's write that as an opposite. That's negative 3 plus the opposite, which is negative 2. Negative 3 plus the opposite of 2, which is negative 2. And negative 3 plus negative 2 gives us to negative 5. What about 2 minus 5? Now that's 2 plus the opposite of 5. 2 plus the opposite of negative 5 is negative 3. Now, if we draw all these on a number line, let me draw a number line really quickly here for each of these. That first number, the minuend, is where we're going to start. So let's put 0 here in the middle. And we've got 4 over here, and then the opposite of 4, negative 4. And we're starting with 4. And it says we're going to subtract. So at first, we're going to go left. But then we have another negative sign here, which switches direction. It's kind of like a reverse reverse. So instead of going left 2, we're going to go right 2, which brings us to 6. Let's put another number line down here, 0 in our middle. 5 to the right, and let's do an opposite. Negative 5 over here. Now we're starting at negative 3, and it's telling us to go left 2. 1, 2. So we can think of that subtraction sign as going left on the number line. A positive sign is going right on the number line. And if we have two negative signs, it's like we're going left, and then we're reversing and going back to the right. Reverse, reverse sends us back to the right. All right, let's take a look at this one on the number line. So we're starting at positive 2. And it's telling us to move left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That puts us at negative 3. So for some of you, you might want to think of these problems as adding the opposite. For some of the other ones of you, you might want to think of those negative and positive signs in terms of left and right on the number line. Negative 32 minus negative 5/8. Well, we know those two negatives, that's that reverse reverse. So that's going to be written as negative 32 plus 5/8. Before we can add or subtract rational numbers, we do have to have a common denominator. And thankfully, both of these have a factor, or have a the product of 32. They're both factors of 32. That's what I'm trying to say. So we're going to switch this second fraction here so that it's also written with a denominator of 32 by multiplying the top and bottom by 4. And now we have -3 plus 20. Well, we can switch those around if it's a little bit easier for you and rewrite that as 20 minus 3. If you'd rather have that negative sign come second. That leaves us with 17/32. If we did this on a number line, we would start at -3, and we would move to the right 20 spots on the number line, which would also end us up at +17. Our denominator stays the same. All right, let's try some simplifying. All right, we've got some double negatives here, some reverse. So let's see how we can write this. 3 plus -5. 2 negatives there become a positive. And we've got a -4, and then 2 more negatives here become a positive. They rewrote this as adding the opposites. We've got all those plus signs in there. So this is a matter of moving back and forth on a number line. Let me draw a number line right here. Put 0 in the middle. So we're starting at +3. And then we are going left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which brings us to -2. And then we're going to go back to the right 9, which brings us back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There we go, up to the 6 on the number line. And then we're going to go to the left 4. And then back to the right 5. I know my number line's getting a little bit messy there, but we're going to land at that 8 at the end there. If you want to, again, think of those negatives and positives as left and right. Try simplifying this one on your own. Pause the video and see what you end up with. Hopefully you got that double negative there. Reverse became a +4. And we have a double negative here, but then we have another negative on the outside. So that was left, and then right, and then left again. So when we end up with the 7, it's still a -7. Simplified down, that becomes 7. So today we practiced using subtraction with integers and rational numbers. Just remember, when you're adding or subtracting rational numbers, also known as fractions, you do have to have a common denominator before you can combine those. Hopefully that was helpful to you. You can use either the number line left and right, or think of subtraction as adding the opposite. Hopefully one of those two methods works best for you and you're able to apply that in class.